Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm here with some Pokemon Showdown post commentary. I know in the last video I said that I probably wouldn't be able to upload for a few weeks because of my broken arm, but I figured since Showdown post comms are so easy to make and edit that I could upload these every now and then for the next few weeks. I might still get some Blaze Blackout because I do have excuse me, sound like I do have what's it called? I have one episode of that pre-recorded. But yeah, let's get right into this. I'm gonna hit play and let's start. So I said not start out with a Wigglytuff. He starts with Meowstic. These are random battles right now, by the way. This is a Dustox I sent out. I switched into he goes for Psyshock though. I tried to go for a Bug Buzz. Then I go into Illumise, he switches into Druddigon. I go for Tailwind to bring up the speed. I used Thunder Wave, but it missed. He went for the Stealth Rocks. I went for the Encore to get him stuck in there. And then I go for Thunder Wave again. Fast. And then it's paralyzed, can't move. And the Tailwind went out, so I do another one of those. And then the Encore ends. So he goes into Tentacruel. I go for U-Turn. And then I switch into Salamence. Salamence Mega Evolves. I go for Earthquake. He lives at 4%. He uses Scald, not very effective, and knocked out by the Life Orb. Then he goes into Druddigon. He switches into Ninetales, Alolan form. I go for Double Edge. Lives at 16%. Salamence is down to 26. And then it switches back into Druddigon. I go for Earthquake. Buffeted by the Hail, of course, and then I use Roost. He uses Outrage, and now he is locked into Outrage. So then I go into Wigglytuff, and he can't touch me anymore. So then I go for a Dazzling Gleam, which knocks out the Druddigon. He switches into Doublade. I use Fire Blast, which leaves Doublade at 12%. He uses Sacred Sword. Hail stops. I go for Fire Blast again, knocking out Doublade. And I'm down to 25%. Back into Meowstic, Calm Mind. Then I use Wish. I use Psyshock, knocking out Wigglytuff. I don't think that crit mattered, but you never know. So I go into Scrafty. And I have Intimidate. It uses Thunderbolt. Then I use Knockoff, knocking out the Meowstic. And then he goes into Ninetales, Alolan form. It uses Blizzard, knocking me down to 32%. I use Drain Punch, knocking out the Ninetales. So then he goes into Lunala, uses Focus Blast, misses. I go for Knockoff, putting him at 35%. And we're both buffeted by the Hail. He goes for Focus Blast again, knocking out Scrafty. I go into Conkeldurr, and he uses Moongeist Beam, putting me at 40%. I use Knockoff, winning the battle. I'm a little mad right now because I just went through this whole battle without unpausing. Yay! Alright, let's do this again. Play. I start with Licky Licky. He starts out with Magearna. He uses Aura Sphere, super effective of course. I use Swords Dance. Leftovers. Then he uses Iron Head. I cannot move because of the flinch. And then Iron Head, and I use Earthquake, knocking out Magearna. He sends out Kartana using Leaf Blade, which knocks out my Licky Licky. Beast Boost comes up, raising his attack. I go into Palkia. He uses Leaf Blade, knocking out Palkia in one hit. He gets the Beast Boost again. I use Aerodactyl, and then I Mega Evolve Aerodactyl. I use Fire Fang, knocking out his Kartana. He sends out Purugly, using Fake Out. I can't do anything because of the flinch. He uses Sucker Punch then. I use Aqua Tail, putting Purugly at 33%. He switches into Banette. I use Roost. He Mega Evolves Banette and uses Will-O-Wisp, burning my Aerodactyl. I use Aqua Tail, putting Banette at 77%, and then I use Fire Fang, putting Banette at 61%, but I flinched, which was my goal for that turn. Then I use Stone Edge, and putting it at 31%. He uses Shadow Claw, I'm at 39% now. He switches back into Perugly. I use Stone Edge, leaving Perugly at 4%. I get hit by the burn again. It uses Fake Out, but gets knocked out by the Life Orb, but I flinch, of course, which did not matter because he was already knocked out. Then he uses Banette. Banette uses Destiny Bond. I use Roost. I get hurt by the burn. He uses Destiny Bond again, but it fails. I use Roost, and I'm hit by the burn. Use Destiny Bond again. Stone Edge, I'm glad that missed. I would have knocked out Aerodactyl. Then I switch into Galvantula. It uses Destiny Bond again. He switches into Infernape. I use Bug Buzz. And have a Life Orb, of course. I use Volt Switch, putting Infernape at 46%. I switch back into Aerodactyl. He uses Stealth Rocks. I'm hurt by the burn. He switches back into Banette. I use Aqua Tail, putting Banette at 8%. Then I switch into Masquerain. The rocks do a lot of damage. Masquerain gets the Intimidate. He used Shadow Claw, putting me at 17%. Then Will-O-Wisp, burning me. And I use Bug Buzz, knocking out Banette, which I only sent out Masquerain so I can stack it to kill this Banette in case he Destiny Bonded. Then Infernape comes out, using Hidden Power, knocking out Masquerain. Alright, then I send out Aerodactyl. Aqua Tail knocks out Infernape. Then he sends out Delmise, which I use Fire Fang, putting it at 73%. He uses Anchor Shot, which finally knocks out my Aerodactyl. Then I go into Vanillux, and I get the Snow Warning, which is Hail, and then I use Blizzard, which knocks out the Delmise. I am back with another battle. This is a Battle Factory battle. I start out with Venipede. He starts with Perugly. I get the flinch with Fake Out. I get the speed boost. He uses Return, knocking out my Venipede. So, once again though, this battle is, Battle Factory, but he goes for knockoff. I go for Hidden Power, putting him at 3%. He uses Return, which almost knocks out Articuno, but he gets knocked out by his Life Orb. He goes into Ninjask. He uses Aerial Ace, knocking out my Articuno. I go into Misdreavus. He switches into Tangela. I use Thunderbolt, hoping it was to be Shedinja, but then I go for Nasty Plot. Then he uses Knockoff, which is super effective, knocking off my Eviolite. Then I use Shadow Ball, which knocks out his Tangela. Gosh. Okay, then he goes in his Misdreavus, using Shadow Ball, knocking out mine. It was a speed tie. I go into Swellius. He burns me with Will-O-Wisp. I use Crunch, putting him at 50%. I get hurt by the burn. He uses Thunderbolt, which I resist, only does 8%. I use Crunch, knocking out his Misdreavus. Hurt by the burn once again. He goes into Ninjask, uses U-Turn, knocking out my Swellius. He switches in to Prinplup. I go for Arbok, and I meant to click Coil, but I hit Sucker Punch. He uses Scald. Then I use Coil for real this time, raising all of my stuff that needs raising. He uses Scald. I use Gunk Shot, which puts him at 36%. He used Scald again, which knocks out my Arbok. I go into Vibrava, use Toxic. He uses Scald, putting me at 83%. I use Earthquake, putting him at 18%. He uses Toxic, which poisons my Vibrava. He switches into Ninjask. I use Toxic on Ninjask. Ninjask gets hurt by Toxic. I get hurt by Toxic. He uses X-Scissor, which puts me at 6%. I use Roost, and he gets hit by Toxic again. I get hit by Toxic again. He uses X-Scissor, which knocks out my Vibrava. Alrighty, I am back, and this battle is Battle Factory, with Pokevoo. He says it's PU tier, and let's hit play. I start out with Armaldo. He starts out with Rampardos. He gets the Surf, because for some reason Rampardos gets that. I use Stealth Rock, and I'm healed by Leftovers. Then I switch into Relicanth. He uses Head Smash, which puts me at 37%. He gets hit by Recoil, uses Superpower, knocking out my Relicanth. Then his defense and special defense drop. I go into Grumpig. He uses Stealth Rocks. I use Focus Blast, knocking out Rampardos. He goes into Marowak, and I use Focus Blast again, putting Marowak at 38%. He uses Knockout, which knocks out my which knocks out my Grumpig. I go into Monferno. He switches into Quilladin. I went for Close Combat, which puts him at 43%. And then I go for Flare Blitz, which knocks out Quilladin. I get hit by Recoil, of course. And then he goes into Dusknoir. So his Frisk, he frisks my Eviolite. I go into Vullaby. He uses Earthquake, which I'm immune to. Then I go into Foul Play, and he uses Thunder Punch once. He gets to Paralyze and uses it again, knocking out my Vullaby. I go back into Armaldo. He goes into Clang, and I use Knock Off, hoping it would still be in the Dusknoir. I get healed by Leftovers. He uses Gear Grind, lands it twice, of course, and then I use Rapid Spin to get rid of the stones, and then I switch into Dusknoir. He uses Gear Grind. Sorry for the background noise, the window is open, but he goes into his Vullaby. I use Earthquake because it thought it was to be Cling. He uses Foul Play, knocking out my Dusknoir. Oh my gosh, I need to freaking pause and shun my window. Hopefully that worked. I go for Stone Edge, super effective on Vullaby. He uses Foul Play, knocking out my Armaldo. Then I'm down to Monferno. He goes into Dusknoir, and I use Mach Punch, which he's immune to. Then he uses Shadow Sneak, and I use Flare Blitz, knocking out his Dusknoir. I'm down to 40% health on Monferno. He goes into Vullaby. I use Flare Blitz, which knocks out Vullaby. Hit by Recoil again. He goes into Marowak. I use Close Combat, and my defenses go down, but knocks out Marowak. He goes into Clang. I use Close Combat, and win the fight with the freaking Monferno in PU. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you slap that like button. It shows a ton of support. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Check out my Twitter, Twitch, links in the description. And yeah.